Hello everybody, welcome to Matchday Live. I am Chris Latchem. It was nice watching those goals going in. Seems a while away, doesn't it, after the week that Manchester City have had. Fair to say, this club has had better weeks. Now, it is a big week for this part of the city as well. You can see this T-shirt that I'm wearing, MTV in collaboration with Manchester City. It's because the MTV EMAs huge show is at the Co-op Live tomorrow night. This T-shirt has been made in collab with MTV and you can buy it in the club shop. What do you reckon? I think I'll model it quite well. Now, you know about how the City's men's team have been getting on in the last 3 games. Not ideal against Tottenham, Bournemouth and Sporting in midweek. Something has to change. I can tell you that Pep has made 2 changes to his team. Should we have a look? Let's get straight to it. In goal, Eddie, number 31, will take the gloves as you would expect. Rico Lewis continues in defence, always so impressive when he gets his chance to shine. Kyle Walker will captain the side today, and the youngster Jamai Simpson-Poussey gets his 2nd start in a row after starting against Sporting. Josko Gvardiol completes the defence. Kovacic is the linchpin at the centre of the midfield alongside Ilkay Gundogan. And we move slightly further up the field. Savinho, when he gets on the ball, he is a perennial threat. Phil Foden scored for City in midweek against Sporting. Mateus Nunes is also in attack, and the big man is up top, hoping to deliver the goals. And we do hope they can deliver the goals. Hello. Welcome to the Matchday Live studio. I'm Chris Latchem and I'm delighted to say I'm joined by 2 of our favourites. Andy Morrison, Nicky Weaver are with us today. First things first, we have to start with the team news that we've just brought everybody. And the defence is what immediately dragged my attention, Andy. And the youngster gets a 2nd go in a week. Yeah,
I mean, I thought he did well. I mean, he came up against the player who's, bang on in form. It was a big ask of him. But, I thought he dealt with situations really well. After the cameo coming on, in the game before. And, I think, it's another great opportunity for him to showcase his talent.
We're thinking it's probably going to be Rico Lewis, Kyle Walker as the fullbacks, although we know that Rico will find his way into midfield. And then Simpson-Poussey and Gvardiol in the centre. We think, you can never really second-guess Pep Guardiola, but there's strength on the bench, Ake and Akanji, so it's a big nod to the youngster.
It is, and you've got to earn your appearance under Pep. He won't just put someone in there sort of willy-nilly. He obviously believes in him, he did well in the week. But yeah, the fact that he's got Akanji and Ake on the bench sort of speaks volumes for how much Pep thinks of him. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he does, but obviously Pep's got confidence in him. One thing he has got is a lot of experience around him that'll help him through, because it's a huge occasion, for the young man starting a Premier League game for the first time. So yeah, let's hope he does well.
How helpful do you think it is to youngsters making this huge bow, Premier League debut after a Champions League debut, to look to his side? He'll see Rico Lewis is there, and look a bit further down the field, there's Phil Foden, and he'd come through the same beat.
Yeah, of course. I mean, and as Nicky just said, I mean, the experience around him. But, the manager will have seen how he reacted after the game, the defeat in midweek. He will see how he carried himself in the few days on the travelling back, going into this game. Listen, it looks like nothing phases him. It's remarkable, really, just how accomplished these young boys are when they come into the team at City. Obviously seeing the players that are in there now and doing well on the pathway. And, as has been said, the manager, you're always watching, not just on the pitch. You're looking at body language, you're looking at mood, you're looking at how you're carrying yourself. And and I'm sure he was being very confident in himself, and the manager's quite not worried at all to put him back in.
Yeah, confidence is an interesting word, just to pick up on that. It's been a confidence-shaking few games, 3 defeats in a row. How do you think the mood will be in that dressing room, Nicky?
Listen, Pep won't have it any other way, that everyone, is together and confident. They'll spoke about the defeats at length, I'm sure. But the best thing about football is there's always the next game. Obviously, 3 defeats, 3 different competitions, so it's not as big as all the noises from outside is making it. You suddenly win today, and it's 1 defeat on its own in the Premier League. So yeah, listen, the Tottenham game was in a different competition. He obviously, he left Erling Haaland on the bench throughout the game, so that tells you how much he prioritised that game. Obviously, the game at Bournemouth was a different kettle of fish, was a surprise result, but they beat Arsenal a couple of weeks before as well, and obviously, we're seeing pictures now of the defeat in the week. But again, in the week, if things were different after 15, 20 minutes, it could be 2-3-0 up, and it's a whole. I mean, you did the commentary for the game, and so it would be a whole different game, and goals change games, and they certainly changed this one.
They certainly did. I mean, Victor Gyökeres with a hat-trick, 2 penalties obviously helped that. But if you could have ended the game at half-time and walked away, you'd have probably thought that City would go on and win that game. But that's not how football works.
No, football never ceases to amaze me, and it was one of them games. It was surreal, and I was doing the commentary with Ali, and I said to him after half an hour, I don't like this because this is so comfy, and I know
too
football.
Comfy.
Yeah, and unless you put the sword, the team to the sword, and it could have been 3-4-5. It really was that game. Tactically, I thought they were so poor, Sporting. City managed to flatten them out into a 5 with their 3, and they played a 5-2-3, which creates the spaces that City kill teams with, where their 10s play, and we just opened them up time and time and time again. But we're wasteful. Didn't take the chances, and as you said, at half-time, looking at each other, thinking, how is this 1-1? And then it only got worse from there. There was a little tactical change at half-time, so they went to a 5, put 3 into midfield and flattened them out, which then changed it a little bit. But they started so well in the second half, and when it is, and I hear what Nicky says in relation to, it's 3 games, no need to panic, but it's Manchester City. Do you know what I mean? And the reality is, we don't lose games of football. And that's not being, that sort of pattern. I think it's been 6 years since 3 defeats on the spin. So it is. And I think it's rightly acknowledged. And I think we've got to be factual that it's a huge game today.
Yeah, huge game. Phil Foden might fancy it. I don't know if you know this, but of all of the teams that he's ever played against, Brighton are the team that he scores the most goals against. I think he's got 8 goals in 7 starts against Brighton, but still yet to score in the Premier League. He'll fancy it today, Nicky.
Yeah, you can't believe we're this far into over a quarter of the way through the Premier League and he's not got off the mark in the Premier League. But yeah, he's obviously had happy times against Brighton. I'm sure he's looking forward to the game. It took him the season, it was a little bit 2 steps forward, 1 step back the first few games. Didn't really get in there. Don't know if there's a bit of an issue with Pep or whatever. Maybe a bit of hangover from international stuff in the summer. Yeah. But listen, we all know how good Phil Foden is. We're seeing goals on the screen now. Fantastic talent. And let's hope we can get him back to that form that he's shown, certainly last season, in the absence of De Bruyne, how good he was and not only for club but for country as well.
So this is from the game in April. City plundering a 4-0 victory in that one. Foden taking the free kick, got a little bit of help on the way in, but you take them. And then this is where Brighton played themselves into real trouble. But I love this finish from Phil Foden. Such awareness.
That's just him. I mean, that's just Phil Foden, isn't it? Gets a shot, gets on that left foot. We saw so many last year where he just shifts. I mean, he did that one first time, but once he's on that left foot, you just fancy him to drift it into that corner. He's got such precision. He's such a technical player, and it's been great to see his development over the last 5 or 6 years. But yeah, he's a great, lovely player to watch. Great balance. Always plays with head up. Fantastic player to watch.
Yeah. So Brighton, they're good at home. They're unbeaten at home this season. But they've only won 2 games of their 5 that they've played at home. They've got injuries as well. We're going to get into the Brighton team when we go to Pitchside with Michael Brown. But is there a team... City have played teams recently that have basically gone, no, we're just going to completely sit back against you. That was the Wolves game, and they got away with the win late on. They've played teams that have tried to play their own game, Southampton, and they've held on to possession, and City got the better of them. Against Bournemouth had a go, and they were a counter-attacking team. Brighton do a lot of counter-attacking. Do you think that is something that City would not ideally like to face off the back of this run?
I think, listen, you can't pick and choose. It's the Premier League, and each team has their own identity. And Brighton, they are a team who'll try and keep the ball. They try and move it. They're not going to go back to front, and they will take chances. I don't think to the degree that Southampton do. But they will take up, and they'll try and play their way through the thirds, and that's hard to manage, when you've got so many changes. I think because the turnover from the midweek game, how much time have you had on the training ground to be able to look at where you're going to press, how you're going to press, where's the triggers? There's all that detail, and sometimes we forget that. If you've had a break, I've seen so many times where teams have actually come back from the break, and tactically they've been so good where they've had sort of like a week, 10 days to work on something. Well, we haven't. We're straight back into a game again. So I think it'll be a little bit, it'll take a bit of time to measure up really to see how they're going to go about things. But Pep's very good at that. I always think half time we always come out normally apart from midweek, and we normally start the second half on the front foot.
On the injuries front, there's not too many attacking options on the bench. Kevin De Bruyne is there. He was on the bench against Bournemouth last week, didn't come on, but he did come on in midweek, got some game time. And Bernardo Silva is there, of the experienced players that could come on and change the game. Other than that, it's more youth.
Yeah, a lot of young players on there, but listen, I'm sure the last thing, the Brighton players will want is see Bernardo Silva and Kevin De Bruyne warming up. I mean, Erling Haaland will be licking his lips with his mate back because Erling Haaland, they seem to have this, they just got this understanding between, he makes the run, KDB will find him. So having KDB back in your squad, obviously, he's been in and around training now for a little bit, so hopefully he gets some good minutes today. But yeah, any team's going to miss KDB, and we have, but it's nice to see him back. And obviously you've got Bernardo as well, who's played a lot this year and has been good as well in a number of different positions. So yeah, they have got a little bit on the bench. We noticed that Doku isn't there, so that's...
he can be a game changer later on.
He's a real impact player. I really like him. Coming on against tired legs, he can change a game. So hopefully that's nothing too sinister. But yeah, he has got options on the bench. And if it's not those two I've just mentioned, it might be some of the younger ones.
Yeah, another player that is not on the bench, we knew that he wouldn't be because Pep said in his press conference yesterday, Jack Grealish has been out for 4 or 5 games, but for some reason is included in the England squad. Seems a bit strange, that, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know we're not privy to what exactly is the situation there. So it's difficult to comment on it. Whether it's something that whether he's going into it with the England squad to be part of it. To
maybe
be in the
to
group.
Be assessed by their doctors.
Maybe,
you never know. But
you don't know. But listen, we need all hands on deck at the minute. We really do, because it's a really, really difficult period. I don't think you can cover that over. And you're going into a fixture against a team who have been competing at the top end of the Premier League, and it's a team which is unfamiliar and a back four which is unfamiliar. But there's enough quality on that pitch to win this game of football today. You've got to believe today, it'll work itself out.
Just touching on the Jack Grealish thing there, maybe it could work in our favour. Because if he goes to England, gets some minutes, if he is deemed fit enough, then he comes back and is ready to go. So I'm sure conversations will have taken place, and I'm sure they'll know it. City will know it was coming before it did.
Yeah, we'll watch this space. My least favourite time, international break, by the way, if you're interested. I prefer it when the Premier League keeps on rolling. Look, it's time we head down to the Amex for our first taste of Pitchside. Michael Brown is there with FG, and they're joined by a special guest, the Brighton legend Glenn Murray.
Yes, thank you very much, Chris, and welcome to the Amex Stadium for today's game, Manchester City versus Brighton. It's with great pleasure to say I'm joined by two legends, Michael Brown, who you've seen a lot of on Matchday Live, and Glenn Murray, a man with over 115 appearances for Brighton. Now, we've just seen the Manchester City team. First things first, what's your initial reaction? We'll move with the back four first, Glenn. Two young lads, Jemai Simpson-Puski and Rico Lewis, alongside Josko Gvardiol and Kyle Walker.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about this game today, and I can't quite put my finger on if it's a good time to play City or an absolutely terrible time to play City. But there's one thing: when the Brighton guys get a look at that back four, there will be a little bit more hope, I think. And it's one of those where Brighton need to be really brave in what they do. They need to respect City, because obviously City can hurt you at any point, but they need to have willing runners forward and try and penetrate that City back line, which could be a little bit weaker than usual.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Walker back in, club captain, really, really important experience. Do we expect Josko Gvardiol Brownie to be a centre-half? How are we going to work this one? Because we have seen Kyle at centre-back as well.
Again, we keep talking so many times about whether you see it as a back three, as a back four, in possession, out of possession. Josko Gvardiol's got that flexibility, and Walker can step inside as well. So it depends. Rico Lewis will be important, whether he plays left, right, whether he goes and joins the midfield area. I think it depends how Brighton's approach is, and that's when you say, when they see this side, do they adjust and do anything a little bit out of the ordinary? Do they come out and sort of play through the thirds a bit quicker and try and go in behind City? They might actually just change because of the setup that Pep's decided to go with.
Now, we'll have the Brighton team news for you very, very soon, but I do want to just speak to you as well, especially about both of you, in fact, when you're in a position where you're losing games. Man City have lost 3 games in a row, albeit in different competitions.
We were experts at it. We were good at it, that's what he said, yeah.
That wasn't why the line of the question was there, by the way. How much does it impact the dressing room, or is it a case of just trying so hard to get them fixtures out of your system? This City side is used to winning 4 Premier League titles in a row, serial winners in the dressing room, but it is a difficult moment at the minute.
Yeah, I think you hear that from Silva's interview midweek. Do you know what? It's a lot different for City losing 4 on the spin to a lot of teams that I would have played for. I was quite comfortable in that position. City, on the other hand, listen, they will be desperate to prove everyone wrong. Everyone's starting to talk about them. This has all of a sudden turned into a really big game. There's questions being asked of them. And from historically...
The serial winners, though, aren't they? Do you know, when they're in that dressing room, there's leaders, isn't there, that be able to have won major tournaments, that surely be able to ease that sort of tension.
Any time I feel as though the media or the country have questioned City under Pep Guardiola, they've always reacted. And I have no doubt that they'll react. Whether it's this afternoon or not, they will turn this round without any doubt.
Speaking of someone in the media, he knows how to give these difficult questions, these difficult answers, that little bit of criticism. That's what you've got, haven't you? You're not afraid.
It's just one of those where City, they are in a bad moment, but also if Brighton feel as though if Brighton felt overconfident going into this game, City would punish them without any doubt. So it's about having that balance, and yes, being brave in your attack, but also still being aware that City are a top.
We've got to be brave, FG. Come on, bring it on. Bring this game on. Take it right at them.
We've been in a lot worse positions. Let's quickly touch on our number 9, Erling Haaland, as well, as we're about to bring you the Brighton team news in a minute. Striker, what a striker he is. He missed a penalty midweek, but I mean, it's just you've just given me the reaction.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't bother him. Water for ducks back, and that's what makes him elite. We see it with top strikers all over the world. They miss chances. That's human nature, but it's the way you react, and he just gobbles them up usually. He had a couple midweek, didn't he? Which I thought he did quite well with. He gets criticised because he didn't score. We're so used to him scoring, but the numbers he churns out year in year out, it's incredible. And you know what? I love it. I love it because I thought for a while Pep had buried the 9, but he's resurrected it, thankfully.
Yeah, absolutely. We love watching our number 9. Let's bring you the Brighton team news then. It's Verbruggen and then Igo Julio, Adingra, Rutter, Danny Welbeck, Mitoma, Ayari, Van Hecke, Estupinan, Veltman and Hinchelwood. Brownie, what do you make of that Brighton side?
It's a strong side. I mean, they're getting stronger. Considering the amount of player turnaround at this football club, the recruitment has done so well to be able to keep bringing different players in, getting top money for the ones that they develop, and some youngsters as well. Hinchelwood have been really impressed with the flexibility. Just talking to Glenn about him. Welbeck's the leading light at this moment in time. I think Matoma's the one we've got to try and keep quiet. And Kyle Walker, if he's going to be on that side, is going to be a difficult situation. But it's a strong Brighton side. They're feeling confident. They've got a couple of injuries as well. That tells you the squad depth that they've got, and some good players on the bench as well, Glenn.
Yeah. I think key for Brighton are the two wingers, Adingra and Mitoma, and the way they've lined up. It's that bravery to get forward and to try and get behind that City back line. Danny Welbeck, I mean, he's aging like a fine wine. I think the best thing the club's done for Danny Welbeck is keep him fit. That's been his biggest issue, and one of the biggest surprises to me looking at Danny was he's made more appearances than Brighton than any other of his former clubs, which was a real shock.
He seems very relaxed as well, Danny Welbeck. I saw him last night in the hotel, seen him here today. He seems like he's very much at home here. Has it always been the case whilst he's been here? I mean, this season he started off fantastically and he's scoring goals.
It's confidence as well, isn't it, Glenn, when you get a few?
I think it's sort of... He's got a belief in his body now, whereas it constantly let him down previously. Now he knows how far to push himself, what he needs to do. Listen, he's played at this level for what, 10, 15 years now. He's got that. That's not an issue for him. And I think what Brighton have done, they've given him that platform to be Danny Welbeck kind of thing. He can play through the middle, he can come off the wing, whatever he wants to do. And what he's doing at the moment is it's pretty incredible.
Now, they played Liverpool last time out, Brighton, and they were very impressive, Brownie. What do you make of the start from the management team as well as this group of players? Because it seems like every single year they just seem to get stronger and stronger. We see new names in the squad, and it just doesn't faze them.
We've just been discussing that in the press room about the manager, the start that he's had, and some of his stats are slightly down to the last manager that came in the door, but a different type of start. But I think he's going well. I think when you have such turnaround in the squad to be able to come and play attractive football, I think that's the hardest one to coach. To have to play through, give him different systems, different options, and he's got all the different ways to play, and I feel like it's a challenge. I think it's just amazing this formula that the football club have, whether it's players, whether it's staff, managers, etc. They seem to be getting it right and also making profit.
Yeah, well, we've got to do it slightly different to City. We've got to have more of a plan. But I think, in all fairness, the football club give whichever manager is at the helm, they give them a really strong foundation of how to do things. It's not a football club that you're going to come into and you're going to say, I want this player, this player and this player. They'll try and accommodate managers to a certain extent, but it's more about their philosophy, their data sheet, who they're going to bring in, who they believe they can improve. And listen, I think, you mentioned Hörsler's stats are a little bit down on De Zerbi's, but that's only 10 games into the job. And listen, he's the youngest manager ever to manage a Premier League team. And I think if there'd been any slight hint of a failure of him struggling, everyone would have been on that really early, like he's too young. But I think to quieten that noise down immediately, he's done extremely well.
Yeah, he absolutely has. I mean, let's have a word as well quickly before we head back to the studio on this place, under the lights. What can this group of City players and the fans expect?
Well, it's sometimes a little bit polite, I will say that. They need to be loud and they need to be proud today, and they need to get into City, because you're never going to play City at a better time as far as Brighton's concerned.
Well, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on. Hopefully we'll have you on again, Brownie, as well. Thank you very much. We're going to head back to the studio now with Chris. First things first, Chris, I hope you are getting me one of them MTV shirts, because they are class.
FG, I'll see what I can do. You like it? If you've just joined us, these are on sale in the club shop. You got the City crest, you got the MTV badge, and if I get you one, FG, I'll try and get one that fits you, unlike this one with me. You can see everything, can't you? It's class. Get it from the club shop. Right, first things first, I think, guys, we should probably reflect on the fact that we touched on Manchester City's injuries, and if you go down pretty much every Premier League club, they're missing key personnel at this stage of the season because there's so many games coming thick and fast. But Brighton, for all their attacking flair and endeavour, they're missing Lewis Dunk at the back, and he is a big loss, Andy. He is
huge, and listen. We talk about the way Brighton move the ball and play, and Lewis Dunk, I think, over the last 2 or 3 seasons, for a centre half who's the best part of 6'4" and a bit old school in his appearance, I think he was in the top 4 or 5 for 3 seasons on touches on a pitch. But what he has is it's the personality that you're missing as well, which is huge. And a player like him, who leads from the back. He's vociferous and he's organisers, and I think sometimes they get overlooked, actually, the importance of them players and what they actually bring to the team on a match day. And and obviously we're missing some real strong characters at the minute, so I won't show too much sympathy for them. No,
we won't. But the 3 games that he's missed were the 2 defeats to Liverpool and a draw. I can't remember who the third game was, but 3 games in a row they failed to win without Lewis Dunk, without that authority that you've been touching on there. The lads in the stadium were talking about Danny Welbeck. He just seems to go on and on and on. And he's actually having the best start to a Premier League season ever. He scored 6 Premier League goals in 10. He's only 33. It feels to me like he should be about 53.
Yeah,
been around for years.
Yeah, he burst on the scene as a young lad.
This is against City in the FA Cup.
It seems an age ago, doesn't it?
2012.
Yeah, so he's been around forever. He's had his fair share of injuries. And it's almost, when he went to Brighton, you almost felt his career was probably going, on the wane, but
he's bounced.
He's in the twilight of his career now, and he'll be enjoying. They manage his minutes. He is at age what he's at, but credit to him. He looks after himself, and he's done terrific. And he's the kind of player that I think his teammates will really appreciate the work he puts in for them. He sort of doesn't I don't think he wants the headlines, doesn't want the limelight. He's just a real team player, and obviously 6 goals in 10 games this year is a fantastic return for him.
There's also a return to the bench for Brighton for Matt O'Reilly. They spent a lot of money on him from Celtic in the summer, £25 million, I think. A lot of money. I suppose for some clubs that's not a lot, but it felt like a big spend from them. Highly rated, Denmark international, and then 9 minutes into his debut in the EFL Cup, they were playing Crawley. He got snapped. It was an awful challenge, and he's been out for 3 months. So it's positive for him, just on a personal level, that he's making a match day squad again.
Absolutely. You're coming down, you want to prove yourself that you're good enough to play in the English Premier League, and you pick up an injury that early, and and it's great to see him back, and you want players to to be able to get onto the pitch, and and I'm sure he's looking forward to an opportunity. He'll be itching to get out there, especially in a game of that's going to get the attention that this game will.
Yeah, Glenn Murray mentioned Fabian Hürzeler, the Brighton boss. It used to be coppers who'd say police officers, they're all getting younger, and school teachers, they're all getting younger. It's now Premier League managers, 31 years old. What have you made of his first few months in the Premier League?
Obviously, he's got an identity. Brighton will have been tracking him for a long time, as they cast the net wide They'll know all the top young managers. I work with Danny Roll at Sheffield Wednesday. He's only 35, young manager. I worked closely with him last season. And the young German managers seem to be quite trendy at the minute.
Yeah.
We had the Portuguese ones sort of 8-9 years ago. Now it's a few young German ones have come over and done really well. So yeah, his start to life has been good. I'm sure he'll have tough times ahead, as all managers do. But for one so young, I think James Milner's sort of 5 or 6 years older than him. So yes, for one so young to come in and make an impact. But Brighton as a club, most things they do, they get right. You know, they sell players at the right time. They sell them for huge money. They pick them up for not a lot of money. And maybe they've picked up a gem in this manager as well. So whatever model Brighton have got, it's really working for them at the minute. And I think a lot of clubs can learn from that, because they don't just go in and go gung-ho, spend big money on sort of superstars. They buy them young, you know, develop the players and sell them on for big profits. And it's a great model they've got.
Yeah, it's a model of succession planning. They seem to do it so perfectly well, Andy. Whenever someone leaves, whether it's a player or a manager, the next cab comes straight in and picks up where the other one left off. One day, hopefully not soon, Pep Guardiola will leave Manchester City. We know that day will come at some point. Could City learn a bit from the way that Brighton operate with their succession planning?
Of course, this isn't it. If there's success and people are doing well, then you're always peering over the wall and asking what they're doing, trying to tap in, get some ideas. But I'm sure City have got all that under control. And fingers crossed, Pep will be here for a while. But yes, of course, you do your due diligence. You're going to. I think that the model that Brighton have got is exceptional. I think there must be. I've gone back to his early coaching and looking at his methods and his, just the way his philosophy that follows on the pattern, because it can't just be he's had a good season.
No,
or two seasons.
He did well at St. Pauli, and before that he was assistant coach with the German under-21s.
Exactly. So that pathway has come in, and he's fiery as well. He's been sent off and had a couple of yellows and that. So
it's petulance. He's young.
It's obviously there's passion in there, and he's not coming across here to make any friends. But ultimately in football, he'll be judged on results. And I think he's had a good start. I think you'd be really pleased, because again, you've got to prove yourself. When you're judged on, the results at the end of the day.
And hopefully he doesn't get one today. We were talking before we came on air about how good your right foot was. You could ping passes 40, 50, 60. Is that factual?
70.
Nicky?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always say about Andy, and I don't want to embarrass him, but because of Andy's appearance and how aggressive he was and how he played. And,
right, okay.
He really liked the physical side of the game. People forget how good a player Andy was. Andy was technically a really good player. He used to play a lot of two-touch in the dressing room and out on the training pitch. Andy was really, really good. And
he could always hold a wonderful right foot, yeah?
Yeah, he could get it out of his foot and he could launch it over the fullback, generally onto Mark Kennedy's foot or something like that.
So, how was your weak foot?
The weak foot was okay.
Did you ever score with your weak foot? I
did, yeah. I scored at Plymouth. I scored a couple of goals with my left foot. I was thinking about it when you mentioned it earlier. Nothing to write home about, but I did score a couple, and I guess it was probably better than the average person because I had worked on it on my left foot, but it certainly wasn't like I think the player we're going to talk about.
Not quite at the levels of Josko Gvardiol. He's scored 7 goals for Manchester City, and 6 of them have come with his weaker foot. And when you see in this VT the quality of some of those goals with that weaker foot, you will just marvel at it. We caught up with him and asked him a little bit about the not-so-secret weapon.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to tell you how I do it, and all I know is that I feel comfortable shooting with my right, and to be fair, it's a kind of secret weapon from me, and yeah, we've seen many times that me being in the left pocket, going to my right, taking a shot, it's important, and especially last game against Wolves, we were 1-0 down, and yeah, luckily we scored. I've scored a goal, and it was much easier in the second half.
So your role within the team and the fact that you are in the left pocket makes an impact, and the fact that you have to use your right foot more. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when you receive the ball, normally you would go more inside, and yeah, that's where I find myself many times, and yeah, it's not always that I want to shoot. Sometimes I'm looking for Erling or whoever is on the opposite side to chip the ball.
Okay, now let's look at that goal against Wolves that see you come in 5th place in Man City's all-time weak foot goal scorers under Pep.
Gvardiol back to Doku. Doku on the edge of the Wolves penalty area. Plays it back to Gvardiol. Gvardiol shooting position. Oh, how many times? How many times has Josko Gvardiol done something like that?
In this situation, as you can see, I decided to take a shot, and I've scored a goal once again. From my angle, it wasn't. At the first, I thought that keeper's gonna save it. As we can see, he touched the ball.
Did you always have the idea in mind to shoot? Because the goal's very similar to the one you scored against Real Madrid, isn't it? Where you took the touch out with your right, hit it straight away after the first touch.
Snap back, it's Gvardiol. Gvardiol goes for goal and scores! 3-2 to Manchester City, and it's Josko Gvardiol!
It's kind of different against Madrid because my first touch was really bad. And I didn't want to take any risk, so I decided to shoot. And I prefer to shoot instead of getting a transition. You know, same week game against Luton Town, I did the same, but just the other corner.
Decent, right? Was that as good as your goal, Plymouth against Shrewsbury?
It was slightly different stage.
The one against Real Madrid or Andy against Shrewsbury Town. In what year would that have been?
Oh, that would have been
1970.
89.
89.
Somewhere around that.
Great days.
Yeah.
The Gay Meadow, which is no longer the Shrewsbury Stadium.
The pattern of most of them were not too much time to think about it. You know, just instinctive, out your feet, bang, and if it comes off, it comes off. But some marvellous finishes there.
Yeah. Really good. Yeah. You can see the full feature of that. That was just a snippet on the Man City website, so go and check that out. And Josko actually rates other players from City scoring with their weaker foot. It's a really good watch, so do that. Now, Nicky, we're blessed with your presence, and we've had a little look through your annals of time spent with Manchester City. You were here for a decade as a player, 97 to 2007. Would you have known off the top of your head how many goalkeepers you played alongside in your time as a City keeper?
No, but quite a few. I saw quite a turnover of goalkeepers, but I wouldn't be able to put a number on it.
You saw some of them off, and you saw some greats of the game, modern and even coming through in their youth while you were there. We've picked out a few. Martin Margetson is a favourite of mine just because I went to watch City in the 90s and he was there then. Yeah. He's on the list. He was the first that you played with.
And he's the England goalkeeping coach now. So
yeah, he's coached with Wales as well. So he's gone on to have a great career. After his playing career finished, Tommy Wright is in there, international keeper, Peter Schmeichel, David Seaman, David James, a couple of others, brilliant ones, Kasper Schmeichel, Andreas Isaksson and Joe Hart, just to name a few. Sorry to any of the other goalkeepers that played with Nicky that we're not going to mention, because the names there are absolutely incredible.
Yeah, well, at the time you don't really think too much about it. It's just another goalkeeper coming into the building. When Peter Schmeichel came, he was the sort of first one to come, and he's just a giant of goalkeeping, isn't he? I think he changed the way everyone thought of a goalkeeper in this country. When this was a game against Liverpool, he had a brilliant game this afternoon. He never used to train. He was 40 at the time, 39, 40. So yeah, they used to wheel him out on a Saturday. But yeah, he changed the sort of face of goalkeeping. Everyone suddenly wanted to come over doing this big star shape, and yeah, terrific, great guy as well. Obviously at the end of his career, but was really good for that year. And then David Seaman came, who again 39, 40. Kevin Keegan knew him from his England days, and to be fair to Dave, injuries, he struggled a little bit and weren't quite as successful as Peter was, but great guy Dave, and he's from my part of the world. He's from just down the road from me, so yeah, he was again another icon of Premier League and English football. But yeah, and then you got the young lads, Joe Hart, Kasper Schmeichel. That's a great save from Joe.
So they were there at the same time, weren't they, those two, while you were there as well?
Yeah, I remember going to Kasper's 18th birthday party. So we'll leave that one there. And
tell us about it off air.
But listen, as soon as Joe came in from Shrewsbury at 18, you could see straight away how good he was going to be. I don't think you could ever say he's going to go on and achieve what he achieved in the game, winning multiple Premier Leagues and 70-odd caps for England. I don't think you could say that at 18, but you could certainly see he was going to play at the top level. Kasper as well. He was probably slightly behind Joe at the time. A different sort of profile. He had a lot of lower league loans. But one thing, Kasper has earned everything. He got everything because of his work rate, his mentality, which he must have got from his dad. His desire
to better.
At the time I worked with them, it was Joe.
You look how young Kasper looks there.
But
Huge save against Arsenal.
Yeah, he was so... he wanted to learn, he wanted to work. You had to drag him off the training pitch. He was the first out. So everything he's done in his career, he's earned that from hard work. So yeah, really lucky to see them to watch them as well. Once, you know, I drifted away from them, to watch them flourish and both become Premier League winners. And, you know, Kasper's got over 100 caps. And we've not even mentioned David James yet, which is the only one I genuinely played with, because we shared the pitch together when he went up front against Middlesbrough when Stuart Pearce put him up front. But David James was... I mean, I was on the bench for that game at Chelsea. And David James, athletically, is the best goalkeeper I've ever seen. He's just, you know, he's so agile.
Still looks like that.
Yeah,
he's in the studio with
almost a freak. Yeah, and you know, the stuff he used to do in the gym. I remember him like jumping over hurdles, and I tried it once he'd gone, and it didn't go, go very well. Yeah. So, but you know, a good lad.
What a save.
Just a brilliant goalkeeper. And he was, you know, when you look at, obviously, Kasper and Joe were really early in their journey. David Seaman and Peter Schmeichel were at the opposite end of their journey. When David James came here, he was right in the middle of his career, and he was brilliant. And
so you mentioned that Peter Schmeichel barely trained, couldn't really train because he just had to make sure he was match ready for the Saturday. When David James came in, he would have been at the peak of his career. So, and you mentioned his training. It's interesting. It's almost like night and day, isn't it?
Yeah, and I remember like I had elbow pads on and knee pads and all the padding, and Jamie would just have shorts and a t-shirt, and balls would be hitting him, and we'd do crossing sessions, and he'd just come and take them like, you know, he was picking apples, and such a talented goalkeeper. And you know, when he left here, he went on and had a brilliant few years, you know, with Portsmouth as well, and played till he was, you know, 41. So yeah, he had a long career and a very successful one, and yeah, so sort of, in my opinion, David James probably should have been the best goalkeeper that we've ever seen, but just because of his how much of a specimen he was. But yeah, he was brilliant here. He never missed a game through injury, never missed training. He was brave. He had the lot.
So they're obviously the heralded goalkeepers. There's some names on the list that maybe don't jump out. Who was the best of the others that you played with at this club?
I mean, I remember we signed a guy called Gert de Vlieger. No one will remember Gert. And he...
There's your pointless answer.
Yeah, he'd 40 odd caps for Belgium. Kevin Keegan signed him. I don't think he ever played for the club. He got injured in a pre-season friendly, and then I think he ruptured his Achilles. He came back and he was stood like this, and Danny Mills pinged a ball and it hit him on the thumb, and he broke his thumb. So that was his sort of City career done and dusted. There was Carlo Nash. I fought it out with him for a couple of years. Tommy Wright, Martin Margetson. So yeah, lots of goalkeepers. Tim Flowers came on loan, who ended up being my goalkeeping coach here. So yeah, I've seen you know, loads of different goalkeepers, old and young, and do you know what? You can learn a little bit off every one of them as well, and also a lot of goalkeeping coaches I work with here.
They probably learned a bit off you.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe, but yeah.
How good was he, Andy?
Yeah, listen, I was fortunate enough when I came in, Nicky was in the team, and yeah, there was some performances and games that were remarkable. I remember, I think it was Ipswich, and we played in the League Cup game. And just coming off the pitch at the end, their team, and then we'd go into the players' bar afterwards, and they were just saying about the performance on the night. I mean, we could have lost it 5. We think we won 1-0, but it could have been 10-1 to them if it hadn't been for Wees on the night. Everything that he did was remarkable, and I think he's always very humble around, you know, the names that he's mentioning there. But you know, Wees had an absolutely incredible career with Manchester City.
And he'll always have 99.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, obviously we remembered for 99, you know, Paul Dickoff and Kevin Orlock and the rest of the lads, and it's amazing. It only seems like yesterday on one hand and a lifetime ago on the other, but yeah, we speak about it more now than we did straight after the event. So yeah, great to be, you know, to play a part in that, you know, memorable day.
If you had to pick out just one, I was going to do a top 5, but we'll just do one of all of the goalkeepers that you've ever played alongside. Who stood out as, at the time that you were with them, the best?
Well, at the time I was with him, it'd have to be David James, just because he was England's number one. He was probably 30, 31, 32, right in the peak of his powers, if you like. So yeah, sorry to the other ones, but they were different stages in their careers. But yeah, as an actor, and he's the only one that I ever shared a pitch with, so he's the only one I generally played with. Yeah, but fantastic goalkeeper. All of them, fantastic goalkeeper.
And who's the maddest?
Yeah, I mean they're all different. In, you know, David Seaman would be twirling his ponytail and chewing his gum. And I remember Casper would, in training, if it didn't go well for him, he'd go, and I remember him shouting at a tree for about 20 minutes after, just screaming at this tree. And but that's because he wanted to improve. But yeah, David James was different to average goalkeeper. Obviously, had different interest in art and what have you. So he was a little bit alternative. But yeah, they're all unique in their own way. And yeah, I really enjoyed working with them all.
How much do you miss it?
I miss it when I was young and I could dive about. I don't miss it when I was 34, 35 and sort of having to drag myself on the training pitch, sort of struggling with my knee and my back and my wrists. But yeah, miss it when I was young and could do it all, yeah, certainly.
Is that the same for you, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's an acceptance there now. I retired, at 31, so I still had 3 or 4 years. And I mean, I just agreed a sort of 3-year contract, leaving City at the end of the year to go and sign for Sheffield United. And my knee went when I was on loan. I came back. I tried to get back fit. They said they'd take me if the knee. I never got back playing. So I struggled for a long time. I used to be dreaming at night times that I was back playing, and when such was my love for it. But the passage of time, you get to your age I'm at now, and also with my knees and everything that's that we've picked up along the way, but so it's moved on, and but it was hard for a long time.
Yeah. Do you boys ever play charity games or sort of fun games now?
I struggle to put my shoes on these days. When I first retired, you do, but it's hard, just moving around. People say, "Oh, you look all right." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't feel it," and I broke both wrists, and it's just a real struggle. And you see these lads who do play the charity games, and you think, how lucky are you to be playing at 45 or 50 or whatever it is?
Yeah, still in my 30s. I've had a knee operation. It's over. It's over.
Yeah.
And no one wants me to play because I'm terrible. Maybe I'll present the after-match presentation. Right, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the Amex because we are now at the quarter stage of the Premier League season, sort of 10 games in, 38 game season. And Michael Brown is going to do a little quarter-way review.
Yes, thank you very much. Welcome back to the Amex Stadium now, Brownie. 10 games into the Premier League season. Who better to ask than the man who watches more Premier League football than most people? We've got a few questions we're going to fire at you.
I hope they're nice.
They are indeed. Let's start with the team in the Premier League that has surprised you the most.
Oh, it's so difficult, isn't it? I've had a little bit of a tip-off on these questions, that's for certain. But I think Bournemouth have done well. Brentford have changed their pathway, the way they play, their approach. But it's got to be Nottingham Forest, hasn't it? To be sat in third in the league, going so well, surprising everybody at times. When Nuno went in, they were thinking about relegation. Lots of players couldn't find a style, and they've done fantastically well.
It wasn't a tip-off, by the way. It was just Brownie doing his research. We'll move on to the next question. The player that has surprised you the most this season. I mean, there is a Nottingham Forest striker that might have surprised a few people, but you're going to be a little bit different here, Brownie.
Oh, why did you do that? Because I've got Chris Wood, because I've been asking about the stats. I think there's only Erling Haaland and Cole Palmer have been scoring more than Chris Wood. Eight Premier League goals. That tells you everything. He's 32. He seems to be getting better with age. He's understanding his role. He's getting opportunities. He's a real focal point, isn't he, at the top? He can score different goals. So it's a wonderful season. And the player of the month for him as well.
Player of the month, indeed. He picked Josko Gvardiol, and I think deservedly so. He's fantastic, wasn't he? And let's talk about the most impressive signing after 10 games in the Premier League season.
Thank you. I'm not going to say Chris Wood. I'm trying to stay away from Forest wherever possible. Elliot Anderson for Forest, I think, has done extremely well. Njai, I think, has been a shrewd signing for Everton. Evan Nielsen at Bournemouth. I'm dancing around. Which one's it going to be? It's always tough. I don't think there's been that standout one yet, and I think we've got to be careful. So I'm going to sit on the fence and not give you the exact one.
Technically you gave us 4 answers there, so we'll take that. Okay, now we're going to move on to the big predictions. We're going to clip this up for MatchDay Live.
I thought you might.
We're going to use this on the final day of the season. We're going to review it. Okay, who's going to win the league?
Chelsea. See, I'm just messing now, aren't I?
I was about to walk away.
So just giving you a little bit. Who do you think is going to win the league? Come on, FG, that's an easy one. Give me an easier question. I think it's written on your mic right there. Do you know who that is? Yeah. Can you see on the front?
Absolutely, the ones that keep
City
winning
all
the league.
day long. It's the ones that keep winning it. We want to see it again. We're here to witness another strong away performance, and I think it's City all the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. 5 in a row would be absolutely lovely, especially with you following us around the country this year. Right, let's go with the top 4 then. So we've got Manchester City in first place. The top 4.
I think Liverpool could be around somewhere, do you? I think they'll be somewhere in and around it, extremely close. Arsenal side have faltered a little bit. Odegaard's been the one that everyone's mentioned. Declan Rice with that broken toe. They're under a little bit of pressure. Chelsea coming really, really strong. Spurs inconsistent. Manchester United falling away. I've covered pretty much quite a few of them.
That was 6.
I know. Well, no, I've put Liverpool, let's be honest. Liverpool are going to be there. Arsenal look like they're going to be there. And I think Chelsea are going very, very well.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And who are the 3 that are going to get relegated?
Oh, well. Who are going to be getting relegated? Well, we're trying to get a little look. What's the latest on the Wolves score? Are they still winning?
Well, they were 1-0 up.
They were 1-0 up against Southampton. It's a big, big game for Gary O'Neill and Wolves. I do feel like they have had a tough start with the fixtures, improving, getting a few draws away. Very unlucky you've seen on the last second against City. But you do look. Southampton, Ipswich, Leicester. Is it 2-1 to Wolves? Just getting it 2-0 to Wolves. So that's a big turnaround. So Wolves could just creep out. Everton creeping away. Southampton, Ipswich. What are Leicester going to do at Manchester United? They're the ones who can get dragged back. Palace a slow start. I feel like Everton are going to start creeping away from them.
Well, Mr. Michael Brown, who would argue with you? Keep doing a fantastic job covering the Premier League as you've been doing. Let's head back to the studio.
FG, Brownie, thank you. These are picks live from the Amex. All smiles for City, pretty in pink. Erling Haaland there going through his stretches pre-match. How long are we from kickoff? We are half an hour away from kickoff. And City, as the stadium fills up nicely, just getting ready for our 5:30 kickoff against Brighton. Hoping to park this dry run of form. I suppose we'll ask you two about your quarterway review. And we obviously know the week that Manchester City have had. Michael Brown saying that he thinks that City will win the league. I think we want him to say that. Is that still your realistic expectation, Andy?
Yes. Do you know, I think over a 38-game season, I think City will be the best. I think there'll be ups and downs, and I think what we've already seen so far is Liverpool haven't had the injury problems. They've not really faced the top, 3 or 4 teams. So there'll be questions to be asked of them. But for me, over the whole season, I think City will have too much. And that's not just the blue tinted glasses on. I firmly believe that. If I didn't, I would say.
Yeah.
But I don't see anyone that will sustain it. And when it comes to that end of season pressure time, when there's 8 games left and it's nip and tuck, City have done it so many times, they know how to do it.
There's so many different elements that could answer this next question. Nicky, you think the clubs down the bottom that are struggling to find a single win, the fact that Nottingham Forest are in the top 3, Newcastle perhaps not having the start that they would have hoped for. What surprised you the most in this first 10 games of the season?
Yeah, I mean, probably Nottingham Forest, to be fair.
Yeah.
Them being third, Chris Wood scoring,
every week,
7 or 8 goals, which has been phenomenal for someone who's been likened as a journeyman. So credit to them, credit to Nuno for doing that there. The season, it sort of doesn't look like anyone's going to, run away with it. I mean, Liverpool are going to have a sticky patch. They haven't had yet. Everything's sort of gone great for Arne Slot since he come in. Like Andy says, City have had their injury problems. That might have been the sticky patch they've had. Listen, they're going to have tough times over a 38-game season. It's going to happen. City are, notoriously slow starters. And it doesn't look like we're going to get to the points tallies that we've perhaps had in previous seasons. But one thing I say about City is they've won the league from every angle going, and no one else has, where, they've won it chasing, they've won it, been chased, they've won it when they're neck and neck. So they've been there, got the T-shirt. There's a lot of noise around the club at the minute because they've lost it on the spin, but Pep knows what he's doing. We trust in Pep. He'll find a way. They may go into the market in January, just to bolster that squad up a little bit. Got injuries coming back, after the international break, which will be a big thing. So yeah, and we've seen it many, many times. City can go and win 12 games on the bounce, absolute no problem. Obviously, we're going to miss Rodri for a length of a season, which any team in the world would miss him. So, a lot of questions, to be answered yet. But if anyone can do it, City can, because they've been there and done it before.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Now, we've done the team, and we've mentioned players on the bench. One player that we've not mentioned today is Stefan Ortega, the Manchester City backup goalkeeper, who's come in and done a great job in the EFL Cup this season and in the Champions League. And we go back to last season, that save that he made. There he is in the warm-up, the save that he made against Tottenham, the title-clinching save. And a big moment for Stefan this week in that he was called up for Germany for the first time at 32 years young. It's a great Do you know what it is? It's a great thing for young footballers of maybe 24, 25 that haven't quite got to the level that they thought they could. That just keep plugging away, because if you do things right, you never know what can happen.
Absolutely, and listen, he came in sort of under the radar when he came from Arminia Bielefeld in Germany. Played a lot of games there. Came in as a number 2, but when he's been called upon, he's done terrific. He had an extended run in the team last year when Edison was injured.
Well, this key moment sums it all up.
This is a championship-winning save, isn't it? He's got himself set, makes himself big, and that is a great spread. He's unique in the way, I don't want to bore you with the technicalities of goalkeeping spreads, but his spread is quite unique, how he gets his one knee goes down and the other one sort of goes out. It really is a good spread, and there's always going to be gaps, but he minimises the gaps.
It's like a cricket long barrier.
Yeah, and there's not much to go at there, and that is a championship winning save, and if that goes in, well, that says it all, doesn't it?
Knock the gaffer off his feet.
So yeah, he's been worth his weight in gold, and when you come to City and Edison's the number 1, it's really difficult to sort of dislodge Edison. But I think sort of the most credit I can give to Stefan Ortega is, if he was playing today, you wouldn't be weakening the team. He's that good. He's got his international recognition now. Hopefully he gets some minutes on the pitch. Obviously Manuel Neuer has retired from who's been the mainstay of German goalkeeping for the last 12, 14 years. So there's an opportunity there for him. It's certainly go to a World Cup. It's going to be now or never at 32. So hopefully he goes in, makes a good impression. If he gets a chance, he takes it, which we know he's more than capable of. And when you are a number 2 goalkeeper, you've got to be ready when you've not had the minutes, and he's done it time and time again. So yeah, he'll be looking to go and impress on that camp for sure.
Yeah, it feels well deserved to me, because as Nicky says, he's come in and impressed when he gets the chance. We've just seen the save against Tottenham last season, Andy. Do you think he would have been surprised to get the call?
Probably not at this late, but I would imagine there have been whispers over the last, knowing that players are coming into retirement, and phone calls and and conversations around. Listen, we all want to play for our country, and it doesn't matter what age it is. It's I think it's something that you take with you as a coach, as a player, for the rest of your career, to have actually represented your country, and he'll be no different. And he'll be incredibly proud, and his family as well. It's a big thing for your family, when you represent your country. So he should be very, very proud of achieving that. Yeah,
I think everybody here will be very, very proud. Hopefully, he'll be the 21st player in the City squad to represent their country. Germany have got games against Bosnia and Hungary in the international window. How much do you think the fact that he plays at a big club like Manchester City has helped with this international recognition? Hugely,
because the games he does play are big games. I remember one game last year he came on against Liverpool midway through the second half, made a couple of big saves, which again got us a point. So yeah, being at City always helps, but he's got to play games as well. Unfortunately, he's not going to play anymore in the League Cup. He might get 1 or 2, depending on how the Champions League does, or if there's an injury to Edison. But I think what he has proved is that he can do it cold. He doesn't need games to sort of get into his stride. And for me, he's probably the best number 2 in the Premier League. He won't be happy being number 2. He'll want to play every minute of every game. And as a number 2 goalkeeper, you prepare all week to play and then don't play. But you've got to be ready when called upon. And he certainly has been in his time at City. And he's not the biggest in stature, but he's a real modern goalkeeper. He uses the ball really well. The players trust in him, and Pep trusts in him as well. So yeah,
I think it's a feather in the cap for City scouting as well. So the season he got relegated with Arminia Bielefeld, he was among the highest percentage saves that season, even though they got relegated. So that goes to show that the work goes on, especially perhaps when you're looking for a number 2 keeper. Because you can't just go and go, we'll take Manuel Neuer.
You can't get a superstar to becoming your number. It's a little bit like Kelleher at Liverpool. There'll become a point, he's a different part of his journey, but he might have to go and leave Liverpool to get the minutes that he needs. But yeah, great. They'll have been monitoring for a long time, and it'll have been the style, the way he plays, particularly with the ball at his feet. Pep's, it's got to be, it's non-negotiable. You've got to be excellent with the ball at your feet, which he is. And yeah, I like him as a goalkeeper. I like him with the ball at his feet. And you can see how much confidence he's got in himself and how much confidence the other players have got in him, because they'll give him the ball under pressure, and he deals with it. So yeah, can't speak highly enough of him.
Yeah, good for him. Alexander Nubel, the Stuttgart goalkeeper, and Olivier Baumann, the Hoffenheim goalkeeper, currently in the relegation zone, are the other 2 keepers in the squad. Barcelona's Marc-Andre ter Stegen is currently out with a long-term knee injury, and as you say, World Cup on the horizon. It's a good chance, good time to shine for Stefan Ortega.
Yeah, the issue is going to be, he obviously got to go away in this camp and impress. Hopefully he gets his minutes. The issue is going to be what minutes he gets for City. But listen, he's just more, we know he's more than able. He's played at the highest level, played in massive games in Europe, massive games in the Premier League. So, international football, he seems a sort of natural to move into international football, even at this late stage in his career.
Might City have a bit of an issue? Let's say he goes away and he plays 2 games for Germany in this window and he comes back and says, I really want to play in a World Cup. I love that. I love the taste that I've had. I want to play more games.
I don't think you'd be surprised if he did. You've got to respect his desire to play. But, it'd be interesting asking Nicky in relation to, all right, different over the last week. And last couple of weeks, Edison's had to make a lot of saves in games. So you're not making a lot of saves. So how much is match practice and match intensity apart from the surroundings?
I used to find when it was my distances, but for that through ball, dear come, dear stop. Not so much you're making saves because you're making hundreds every day in training, and it's just that pressure of walking over the white line. Standing under that crossbar can be a lonely place sometimes when you've got balls sort of whipping in on you. So yeah, but he's a very experienced goalkeeper. He's played hundreds of games, so nothing will faze him. And when he does play, nothing does faze him. And it's just so natural with the ball at his feet, and he eases his way into the game. And one thing I think he's not quite as good as Edison at is Edison. We've seen it loads of times. He looks long and he can zing it straight over for Haaland. Not saying he can't kick it as far, but I don't think he's got the drive or the ping, if you like, of Edison. But yeah, his short game's fantastic.
Like a Concorde taking off when he pings those long.
And that's what I love about Edison. His first look is forward. Can he get someone in? Because everyone plays a high line now, and we've seen it many times. Haaland's always arcing that run to try and get in.
Let's get it done today. Speaking of international call-ups, even though he's moved on to pastures new, Taylor Harwood-Bellis of Southampton got his first international call-up for England this week, came through the City Academy, as I'm sure you're all aware watching at home, and he is the 10th Academy player to be called up by England since we got FA status, I think back in 1998. So we've got a little game for you two. Can you name the previous 9?
No.
Why not?
Since when?
Since 1998, I think. 9 players have come through the City Academy and been called up by England. Called up.
Can I go first?
Go on then.
Foden.
OK, Foden.
Richards.
Rico.
Oh, you're going really quick. You can see the graphic. You're too quick for the graphic. OK.
Barton.
Nicky. Joey Barton. Oh, yes, 2 for 2. Andy? You're looking at the silhouettes for a clue.
Cole Palmer.
Cole's there.
Keep going, Reece, you're on fire.
Think back to you would have played with him. Far left.
Sean Wright Phillips.
Yes.
I couldn't forget right. Joey's on there, isn't he?
Represented the other team in the City.
Sancho.
Jaden's there.
I'll come back now. I think I'm just took the lead, haven't I?
I think so, yeah. We're neck and neck going down the final straight. This one played for City, played for a couple of other Big 4 Premier League teams. He used to dance to celebrate his goal.
Daniel Sturridge.
Daniel Sturridge is there.
Yep.
I can't remember the last one. So
I was thinking Peter Crouch didn't play.
Yeah, that was do the dance that I just did because I was off camera.
I think.
Yeah. 1 to go. Easy, come on.
Oh, is that not it?
1 to go.
Recent?
No, it was in between Joey Barton and Daniel Sturridge.
Come on, give us a clue then.
I'm going to need a clue for production because I can't see the list that we've got. Recently retired. Scored in a World Cup semi-final.
Kieran Trippier.
Yes.
Wow.
Look at him. Look how young Trips looks there.
Nice mullet.
That was a good game, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well done.
I'll tell you what, though, I did amazing.
There.
I think I beat you. It's a testament again to the work that gets done at Manchester City. From a long period. So Jim Cassell
Jim Cassell brought, he was here for years and years and years.
Who brought like Joey and Sean through, and then the work that goes on now. And you know, and when I look at the amount of players that have actually gone out and played in the Premier League,
and it's not just the ones that are here, is it? It's
it's remarkable.
They're all over the place.
Yeah, you just get this player, and all of a sudden, and who's doing really well, and it's like, he started at City.
Yeah,
come through the academy there,
just
moved on.
A well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Both the men's and the women's team just keep churning them out. It's great to see. Right now, you can see we're all wearing our poppies. Tomorrow is, of course, Remembrance Sunday, and the city and the community have been doing loads of great work with military veterans to help them meet up, make friends and connect through football. And Kira Best caught up with 3 of our military heroes.
Remembrance Day will mean a variety of things for different people. Would you mind each sharing kind of what it means to you on a personal level?
I take part in Remembrance more for my children, so that they understand why we do it, the sacrifices people have done.
For me, I think it's really important that I remember my friends. I lost quite a few friends on operations around the world, and I think it would be a disservice if we didn't remember them.
When you talk remembrance, people always think back to World War I, World War II, and they've got this idea of now an older gentleman or older woman in a wheelchair or with a Zimmer frame, but it's far more than that we lost early on in our careers. We lost some good friends while they was away on tours, and for me, it's just about remembering them and not letting them, that their loss go unheard.
We do it because we want to make sure that our friends are always remembered. But it's important that the next generation know that as well, and it's passed on. And if we can do that via our kids, then it's a great thing.
What impact has City and the Community's Military Veterans Programme had on each of you individually since leaving the military?
It's given us a place to turn off, if you like, from everyday life, get back together with military personnel. And although, it's not the same as training, thank God, it's given us that support network back. When you leave the military, you lose pretty much all of that. That all goes in an instant. There's no preparation for it. It's just gone, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I think like transition from the military, it can be quite lonely. Like my close friends from the military are dotted around other parts of the country, and although you have your family here, like I say, I had quite a small sort of social circle. The impact on my life has been amazing. I would regard the friends from there now, some of my closest friends, even to the extent that we went to Istanbul together for the Champions League final and stuff like that. I wouldn't have done that before, so it's been brilliant for me.
I describe it as it's not something that I knew that was missing from my life until I went and did it, and then it was like, God, I needed this. I think we've got a completely different language that we talk together that no one else understands, and it's nice to have that back in your life.
Is there any advice that you would give to anyone who's maybe sat watching this now and considering joining the City and the Community Military Veterans?
I'd tell anyone to get down. Like I say, I've been to a couple of other clubs where that have done it as well, but nothing compares to this place. So yeah, I'd tell anyone who's considering it, come down and you'll be welcomed.
Yeah, we will remember them. Terrific work that City and the Community does with our military veterans. Are you doing anything to mark Remembrance Sunday?
Yeah, I'm going to take my son and my grandson tomorrow morning, and we're just going to go to the local village for 11 o'clock. It's the whole village will come out, and it's a lovely get together, show of respect.
Nick?
Yeah, I'll take my 2 kids. The village I'm from, they do a parade, like a parade through the village. So I'll go and watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, same for me. I'm going to drag my kids down, because we were just saying while that VT was going on, it's something that it seems to mean more to you as you get older, and hopefully they'll catch the bug and pay their own respects as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I only found out a couple of years ago that my great uncle and my great grandfather were lost in the war. And I thought I would have known that, but maybe it's something that I showed a bit more interest in as I've aged, and it'll be nice tomorrow to show a bit of respect.
Yeah, certainly will be, and we all echo that here at Manchester City. Right, now we're going to head back to the stadium, to the Amex, to FG and to Michael Brown. We are just 12 minutes away from kickoff. Brighton against Manchester City. It's time to get their final thoughts.
Yes, thank you. Welcome back to the Amex Stadium. The temperature's dropped, the atmosphere's building. We win this game today, Brownie, and we go top of the Premier League, albeit with our rivals potentially having a game in hand. Crisis? What crisis?
It's just a win that's needed. I'm confident. I feel like we can get a reaction. I'm looking at the side and I look at the determination, the players. have been asked questions before and they seem to deliver. This is a tough place to go. A Brighton side who are going to move the ball around. They've got key areas and that they sort of have pace and power. Welbeck's going well, but you just look at City players. Haaland's due. I know he is. And I'm confident today.
When you look at the creative players around Erling Haaland, especially in this fixture, is this a moment for the Phil Fodens to announce themselves a little bit more this season? We've seen how good Núñez has been as well. I mean, I've got a good feeling about this evening.
Yeah, I think Núñez is getting better. The more game time, it tells you the trust that the manager's giving him. We expected him to do it a little bit earlier in his City career. Phil Foden has been quiet considering last season he was incredible. He's just getting back to his best now, Phil Foden. I expect a strong performance. He knows this Brighton is the Brighton side. He does so well, and he'll know he's scored before. He's created big opportunities. He'll be looking forward to really setting the record straight. So yeah, he's on the right track. So I'm confident. Just the talking point really is going to be the change in setup. Whether we're going to see anything different from Pep, whether Kyle Walker's going to start inside or Rico Lewis is, maybe as a centre back, Rico Lewis goes into that area, leave a 3, or whether Walker goes out in that position. So we'll soon see, but lots to talk about. It's about a little bit more control. The stats are down for when we're conceding goals and in possession. That's one thing now the manager wants to get hold of. Counter-attacks as well. We don't want any more of those.
And finally, let's touch on Jemai Simpson-Puse. There's been a lot of talk about him, of course. How much of a learning phase was that for him in Lisbon midweek? And how important is it that he's got such great players? I mean, the club captain, arguably the best fullback the club's ever had, playing at right back next to him as well. Yeah, and then players in front of him, İlkay Gundogan, and just experience. That's super important, isn't it?
It's an amazing trust from the manager. Champions League, then come into this difficult game. And by the way, you're coming into the side when the question marks are being asked. You're not coming when you're winning every single game, so it's even tougher for him. The pressure's mounting. I feel like he's stepped into this new journey and a young career, and I fancy him to do well. It's a great opportunity now to see another youngster grabbing that shirt, and we see a special player coming through.
Yeah, fingers crossed, another academy graduate, hopefully about to make another claim to stay here in long term. We're going to head back to the studio, but a quick shout out to the City fans who have travelled hundreds and hundreds of miles on this Saturday evening. There's no trains running, so they'll be getting the coaches and driving back after the game, and let's hope for a positive result.
Yeah, we're all hoping for that. FG, Michael Brown, thank you. We'll catch up with them at half-time and at full-time as well. It is a big night, isn't it, for young Jemai playing centre-half in the Premier League. First start for him. Absolutely.
But as we've already said, listen, you're not in the team. There's no gestures of bringing through youth or whatever. It's not. It's if you're good enough and you're ready, you'll be put in. And and there's been a lot of faith shown. Obviously there's a lot of work and training as well, and you see the qualities of the players. But it's obviously the personality as well to go into a game this size and have total faith in him. And I think he should be very proud.
Yeah, I think he will be. He turned 19 on Monday. There's no way when he was unwrapping his presents he would have known what a week he was in for.
Yeah, I mean, what a great opportunity for him. Just 19, making his first Premier League start, played in the week in the Champions League. You don't get many better 19th birthday presents than that. But yeah, obviously Pep's got faith in him, and let's wish him well. And hopefully there's another one off the conveyor belt who goes on to great things.
It's a big day for that man on the screen there. He has never lost 4 games in a row as a coach. How much will he be thinking about that?
I don't think he'll be just thinking about focusing on this game. I think that's exterior noise for Pep. He doesn't like losing. Nobody does. But yeah, he'll just be solely focused on this games and the threats that Brighton pose and the areas that City can exploit, and all the prep work like they do, and there'll be no stone left unturned, and there'll be no one more desperate to win than Pep and those 11 players that start, for sure.
And no one more desperate to find the back of the net than that man, Erling Haaland, who of course missed a penalty in midweek. Phil Foden scored the opener against Sporting Lisbon. We won't talk about what happened in the rest of the game. Just to recap the team then, I know you can see it across the bottom of your screen, but Ederson goes in goal. The back four, I'm not completely sure in what order they'll line up, but it's Rico Lewis, Kyle Walker the captain, Jemai Simpson-Puse making a Premier League debut, first start, and Josko Gvardiol. In the midfield, Mateo Kovacic, İlkay Gundogan, Savinho, Phil Foden in attack with Matheus Núñez, and Erling Haaland up top, the captain there in your centre of your screen. Will be Kyle. Where will this game be won and lost, do you think, Andy?
I think it'll come down to our finishing. I really do. I think, perhaps been wasteful, over the last few weeks in relation to, the ratio between opportunities to goals converted, has been poor. we will create 5 or 6 really good chances. If we take 2 or 3 of them, we'll win the game. If we don't, it'll be a difficult evening. And we've also got to focus on keeping that clean sheet, really important.
Predictions?
City 3-1.
2-1 victory for Manchester City.
2-1 City. I'm going to go for the same scoreline, 2-1. And I was correct last night when I predicted that the women would beat Tottenham by 4-0. We can see that the teams are in the tunnel. So it is time for you to switch off your YouTube and shift over to the City app to join our commentary team. Michael Brown is in the stadium. We've already been in touch with him, but we've not heard yet from the quite brilliant Alistair Mann. Take it away, Ali.
Thank you, Chris. Well, it's the most challenging time in City's recent history. 3 defeats in a row in 3 different competitions, and the squad stretched thin by a catalogue of injuries. They, though, have determination and resolve running deep in their DNA. And if there's one group of players who can emerge through adversity, it's this inspirational collection of serial winners. A trip to Brighton at the end of a draining 10-day tour, which has taken them to Tottenham, Bournemouth and Lisbon, is sure to be yet another test of even their resolve.